So a lot of that stuff I don't think can be caught on a standard camera. We might get a breeze of something interesting every now and then, but it's definitely not going to be as consistent. The audio, I do think there can be, and I've Nick and I, years we've had a lot of good luck, and you know, I'd even almost say, given a good session, we had 100% on at least getting something that shouldn't be coming through the way it's coming through on those radio boxes. And honestly, Nick talks about it, and it's something I spoke about to my inner circle after we did the show. One of the best. It was really cool. God, I wish, and it was one of those data moments on the show that it's like this is going to be good for the field, guys, and entertaining. But it's not there, and it's probably not ever going to be seen. But at some point, we can. I mean, we should be able to get it again, at least something like it. But there seemed to be an incubus or a gentleman, even perhaps, that liked other gentlemen at this location. And his story wasn't told at all, but there was a little bit of side story there. And we got a spirit box very clear. We heard it live, and when he cleaned it up, it was phenomenal. It said, Aaron is a handsome man.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Into the Pit. And I'm very privileged, very happy to have Mr. Aaron G. Thompson here with me. Now, if you haven't seen it, there's a show on Netflix. It's called 28 Days Haunted. Now, it's kind of intense. I've really enjoyed it. I'm kind of skeptical because there's so many paranormal shows on, and I'm kind of picky about which ones I like to follow, but I like this one. And by the way, is this just a one-off, or are y'all going to be able to do this again?
It depends on you, the viewers, and Netflix. And it's kind of funny because some of the other talents, some people are throwing in the ears. The reviews, not the greatest coming out, but you got to understand this went on a global platform. Not everyone's paranormal, so it's not like a travel channel scenario that it would
Right.
have hit a lot better. But we also got thousands more reviews than any of the other paranormal shows. We've actually we're now the most viewed paranormal show in history in like less than a week.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's that. We hit number 5 in the US. I believe we went to number 4 in the UK at one point, and we were number 6 globally in that first week that we launched. So bad review left and right, the numbers are going to talk. And I can tell you everything we did as investigative work was legit, but they crunched like over 3 months worth of 24/7 audio video content into 3 hours. So you got to think a lot of cutting has happened to illustrate the story that we went through. Um, yeah, so it was a crazy ride.
Well, definitely want to plug the show because I did enjoy it. But let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I like to do underwear push-ups. If you watch the show, you'll understand. I got a comment from a nice lady that said, "Hey, my granddaughter wants to ask why are you always naked?" A correction, it was TV 14. I was not naked. The only CG was my underwear. No, no. So I've been doing this song and dance. Well, my name's Aaron G. Thompson. Of course, Kyle. Thank you so much, by the way, for having me on the show. I
Oh, my
really
pleasure.
appreciate this. Um, this is my thing, right? So this is we all I think have our thing, our passion, and I hope a lot of people choose to chase it. It would just despite what avenue it allows opens up for you. This has always been a personal journey for me, and it's still a personal journey for me. Um, I'm thankful to be a part of a show to get the exposure to allow me to do the research more. I've been doing this research since 1999, and if you're doing the quick math, it's 23 years. People are like, "Oh, you don't look that old." Well, thank you, baby blood, moisturizer. I did 2 years of book research when I first started, so I didn't hit the field until year 3. The big reason was I was still in high school, and I didn't want to be a kid kind of running around doing this what I thought was a big and it is it's not it's a big subject, afterlife, right?
Right.
So I started doing it because I actually had a fear of death when I was like 8, and for some reason that just hovered around my mindset. As I went through my teens, I started asking the question to peers, teachers, coaches, ministers, anyone who I trusted. Um, do ghosts exist? Ghost was kind of like my gateway question to, does afterlife exist? So do
Mhm.
ghosts exist? Half of them said yes, half of them said no, with the same exact answer, just because. Just because. Like, what? That's weird. I like trust you guys with giving me like real legit stuff, and you're like, yeah, don't worry about it. And this got me to thinking though, if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. Didn't know it's going to be as difficult as it is, but nonetheless, I've learned a lot in this ride. I take a lot of twists and turns, and again, I started doing this because as I started researching it, I noticed a lot of organizations, via scientific or metaphysical organizations, they didn't agree with one another, and there are almost extremes on the subject on both sides.
Right.
Um, Even the psychological world was kind of in there, and I don't even want to say parapsychology is in the mix. Parapsychology was really created to say you cray cray. So I, I looked at humans and adults, and mind you, I'm just entering my adulthood really. Um, I'm looking at them being incredibly unbiased to a very serious conversation. I never expected to be someone who would be a martyr, who would, step up and do this, but it was very personal, and I didn't care to really share results with anyone. I just wanted to find out for myself, because it seemed like a lost cause out in the world to try helping anyone, or at least give them data that's appropriate. So honestly, I didn't believe that ghosts exist. I thought once we done, we're out. We're not going to complain about it, right?
Right, right.
So, so I thought it was going to take about 3 years to figure that out. Then I like 3 years of Bigfoot and 3 years of UFO. It'd be fun. It'd be like a whole like trifecta thing. I'm still on ghosts. It's a little more difficult than I anticipated, and there are layers that I've come across. My aha moments, my flip of the script, and me coming to the rec- to the idea, or hypothesis that that it is science. It is scientific. There's definitely a science to it, and I'm just trying to get some experiments together to kind of tweak that and duplicate some scenarios. But yeah, afterlife exists. It's legit, and there's lack of better word. There's energy, or that those vibes running wild out
Well, I mean, you took it serious, which you see so many of these shows that they're just in it for the entertainment factor. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I think
there.
people kind of know what I'm hinting at.
Like,
You've got some producer in the background knocking on the walls and tossing
right.
things across the room and that kind of stuff. And I've met different ghost hunters that are on television, and I know the ones that are legit and serious about it, and the ones that are just kind of there for the entertainment.
You can kind of
Uh,
see it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there were moments where, even though and I'm not gonna mention his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but I know this guy and I know he's serious, but sometimes I felt he might have been kind of overacting his part a little bit, but I don't
You
know.
know,
I wasn't there.
and I wasn't, and I could tell you, I could really just speak on my location. The the cuts, the cuts were very they were crafted very well for the narrative. I
Hmm.
was super entertained, honestly, watching it,
Hmm.
but my viewpoint of the whole experience, um, there's a there's a deeper story I feel could have been wrote if they had more time, perhaps to allow it to
Yeah.
breathe. Even more characterization, because it did make some of us look a little more acty when in reality it was cut between a couple of the robo cameras and the investigator camera. Instance, my big, moment, episode 3, spoiler. I have a moment and I say something, but there's a real clear F bomb in that mix that that was admitted. Which I get it, but right away I was just like, wait a second, something feels wrong with that scene. Oh, they missed my really enunciated and slow version of fudge. Um, so They should have cut to me in an interview room. I said, then I could have been like, I didn't say fudge. I said the word, the mother words.
Well, see, that's another thing people don't have to realize. They edit certain things to make it
They
look a
do.
certain way, and you can even have things taken out of order. I mean, I don't know if that's what
Absolutely.
happened with y'all, but I mean, it happens.
There was a some, and a lot of it's a blur. I'll be honest with you. Like I even because it was a year we had to be quiet about this. And up until seeing this show, I forgot a lot of what happened. Just being there, like it was such a ride. There's no clocks, which was super disorienting. Um, and on the site, but for me, Nick later said, "Oh, I had a Fitbit or whatever on his watch." I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks for sharing with me now, jerk." um, but yeah, there's no clocks and things. Most of it was linear. A couple of things from what I can recall were out of place, but the story was there. However, there I feel as an investigator and as me looking scientifically on this, there was a whole moment of some of the best data that was scripted. And I think this gives me an eye opener on TV shows, right? I had no
Hmm.
control. I had no control. I could say that's, oh my God, we got to document it. That's one of the best scenarios of this that has happened. And if we can duplicate or it has been duplicated, and this is just another addition to the data to go to evidence because we don't necessarily have evidence in this field. It's data we collect so we can try to get some exacts. But yeah, it's not shown, and it was fantastic, and it would have led into the same story, but it would have given more characterization to all three of us. It would have been more investigative driven, with psychic complements, and it would have had that drama, that dip, and then it would have had a resolution midway, and then it almost would have had a superhero ending. Like really, that in my head, that could have played out that way. There was a real epic moment. I even had a really epic. I talked a lot, honestly, and I didn't have the camera as much as it seems, but I had quite a talk to kind of pump everyone up at the end as shit was going down, things were going down. I basically I said, you know, guys, this is effing worth it. We're on this effing TV show. Pays not worth it. Let's just close this place out and get the fuck out of here. I was so
Right.
it was and it was a little bit longer than that, but it was Braveheart would have shed a tear. Freedom.
Well,
So
TV is a double-edged sword because
it is,
at one way you look at it, you want to get the exposure out there because you want people to
and that's it.
believe.
The exposure is worth everything.
Right. But then you've got those producers and that want to get that entertainment value and they manipulate things, which makes
Right.
people start to kind of doubt what we do. And unless
Yep.
someone actually goes out there and experiences it, they may not believe the way we believe. I
And I
mean,
think,
even myself,
yeah.
I've gone out on so many investigations and I've had things happen that I can't explain. I'm the skeptic of the group,
Right.
so I'm
Right.
scrutinize everything a lot more than everybody else does. And even after I've found some great evidence that you just can't deny, after a while, I even start doubting it again.
Because and it's interesting you said that, right? Because a lot of the tools we use, it's a pseudoscience scenario.
Right.
So let's say I use a ghost box, right? A ghost box to that chips away phonemes, part words, sounds to somehow we're getting words that we ask a question for. I look for multiple syllables. I look for direct responses within 3 to 5 seconds, right? Something
Mhm.
quick. If it's anything longer than that, I disregard. I don't, if we're on to something else. And um, but however, let's say I get the best so and so with this scenario. Now we have to explain how does the device work? Does
Yeah.
does the device work? What's it pulling from? So I mean, there's layers, and that's why I don't work with too many different ghost boxes. Um, Ghost box eye. What's the flirt? No, but the the yeah, it's just so much I got to think about, and so many people have these apps, and I think the apps are really cool. And absolutely, there are the apps have done some wonderful things. There's a few that I hang on with, but there are so many apps out there. I can't test all the apps. It's just because I put thousands of hours in these things on site and analyzing, post live. It's just I don't have the time nor brain power. And if one works for me, we just got to see what I can do to perfect that moment. Because it's almost like you getting used to your tools. The more you're used to a tool, the better you're and more efficient you're going to be.
Yeah.
And hopefully the tool treats you well, as well.
Well,
Um,
these are tools, but I don't gauge this as 100% works all the time. Because, okay, let's take, for example, the SLS camera. All right. I saved up and I got one of those. And I can honestly, after using it, can explain, okay, maybe it's picking up a shadow or something, and that's where it's mapping it at, or, something like that. But there was a point where we were at a house and we were just kind of testing it to, make sure it was working properly. And this figure shows up in a chair. Well, I could think, well, maybe the indentions in the chair or something, maybe that's mapping that. But when I say, okay, if you're really there, wave at me, and this hand comes up and starts doing this, how do you explain that?
I've seen that scenario, and I think this goes back to the biggest thing is paranormal. Like when we investigate, it's all personal. It's all personal, and a lot of things I feel, whether we're psychic trained or not, that comes into our third eye or our consciousness speaks on it and interprets it the way that we feel it should be interpreted through our biological standpoints, whether it be culturally influenced, or other. So I think that can make the scenario personal as well. So a lot of that stuff I don't think can be caught on a standard camera. We might get a breeze of something interesting every now and then, but it's definitely not going to be as consistent. The audio, I do think there can be, and Nick and I, years, we've had a lot of good luck. And, I'd even almost say, given a good session, we had 100% on at least getting something that shouldn't be coming through the way it's coming through on those radio boxes. And honestly, Nick talks about it, and it's something I spoke about to my inner circle after we did the show. One of the best. It was really cool. God, I wish, and it was one of those data moments on the show that it's like, this is going to be good for the field, guys, and entertaining. But it's not there, and it's probably not ever going to be seen. But at some point, we should be able to get it again, at least something like it. But there seemed to be an incubus or a gentleman, even perhaps, that liked other gentlemen at this location. And his story wasn't told at all, but there was a little bit of side story there. And we got a spirit box very clear. We heard it live, and when he cleaned it up, it was phenomenal. It said, Aaron is a handsome man. And like, he played this for me at the table, at the war table. Yeah. It was funny. He played at the table, right? And it was incredibly clear. And again, they didn't really show us working at the table and analyzing a lot. But when he played it, both Sean and him look at me, and all I said was, well, I don't disagree. Oh yeah.
So something else that happened cool to us. You've heard of the Magnolia, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're in Seguin, Texas.
I've heard of it. I didn't know it was in Texas. Maybe I did, but yeah, definitely heard of it.
All right, so we're down the street from this place, and a friend of mine had asked us to check out this house she just bought, and they were remodeling it, what have you. And I set up a REM pod. Anyway, this thing started beeping like I've never heard it beep before. And I told someone, I think this is Morse code. That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
And it was beeping just like that. So I found an app on my phone that you can put in a sentence and it would beep out Morse code.
Right.
And so I was asking questions, and I can't hear that thing fast enough to figure out what it's saying, but it was like it was answering me. Every time I'd ask a question, it'd start beeping again, and it kept doing it. And I was like, if this is a coincidence, it's the coolest coincidence ever.
You
Well, the
know,
next
yeah.
day we got up and we went into town and was looking at one of the little gift shops there. And I kid you not, there was a bracelet, and in Morse code, it spelled out the name of the town. And I got to asking questions, and I found out that place that we were at used to be a post office, but they
Wow.
used to get Morse code there, or whatever they called it back then.
I
You
think,
know, to
yeah, it
get
was for, yeah,
messages back and
the
forth, right?
telegraph or the yeah, yeah.
Telegraph. Yeah, it was
Yep.
doing the
Yep.
telegraph thing. Uh, Another thing,
That's awesome.
I don't know how to explain, but it just seems like that was my experience, and I'm sticking to it.
No, you know, those experiences are see, those personal experiences are so cool. You know, a couple, I guess, tips with spirit communication. You know, like talk with the boxes, like a lot of people, ask questions. One thing that I've knocked out of my verbiage long ago is be assumptive. Example, um, I know you're in this room. What's your name? Instead of, is there anyone in this room? Because if there's not anyone in the room, who cares? let's, let's tackle, if I get a response, I get a response. Or, um, you know, how many people died here? I don't know, just, something with your questions. And another one I really like to kind of test some of the boxes and make sure that's working with all parties. I say, okay, everyone, can you count the number of people, of humans that are in this room right now? Start with one and end on the number of how many people are here. That is phenomenal. How often that works. You get the, because I don't do I like to do multiple syllables. So this is a little different for me, but that you're getting a one, two, three, four. Good. It's pretty impressive. I'll take that. So yeah, that just I play a lot with the boxes to add activities, and it seems to be a lot more responsive when I do that.
We went to a storage facility. Excuse me, tongue tied there. Anyway, at this place, they had been talking about things getting moved around, stuff missing, and then ends up somewhere else, that kind of thing, and different noises, whatnot. And I went down this one hallway, and I'm down there by myself, and I'm doing a little sweep. I've got the K2 meter and that kind of thing. You know how it is. You get a lot of EMFs in a certain area. It could affect some people. So I thought maybe there's exposed wiring or something. I don't know. But I'm
And
down
I
there.
found that before. Yeah.
Something actually was in my ear going, "Hey." I mean, it was loud enough the people down the hallway heard it. That's the
Oh,
most, that's probably the most closest experience I've ever had, other than what I've caught on camera. What's been your most?
you know, well, I mean, I kind of talk on that scenario because I was actually literally just sharing a story like that to someone else hours ago. So that's kind of funny, but so similar scenario. So the place that I'll be crafting these awesome rings um, uh, later today. I was down in the basement with the owner, and we're just testing out. I think we're just testing out a new box or doing something, or maybe just playing down there and just kind of seeing what energy is down in the business, her basement business. And um, I got this really loud groan, like a groan in my ear, so loud. And the neat thing with it is not only did I hear it, I felt heat, and I felt three beams, like a beam hit me here, like close to the ear, like kami hawed me, like right in the face. With the uh-oh. Crap. Now the narrative could change. But I looked at Lisa, who the owner of the place is, and I go, "Did you just hear that?" I mean, it was it was in the room with us. And she thought I was crazy. She goes, "What?" I didn't hear nothing. And I looked at her and she has a recorder. I'm like, let's off the recorder. Let's listen. It's on the recorder and you hear it very clear. Because the app that I'm using, it's I believe necrophonic or spiritus, but it has the phonemes where it's like the pause in between another word in some occasions. So you
Mm.
hear the bleh, 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 like type stuff, but there's this pause and you hear, white noise, like just that blank space. But then all of a sudden you hear this, like in like tandem. And I mean, it sounds like no, it doesn't sound like it actually could be from the box. It's definitely a distinct, unique voice and groan. And right after that, I was like, did you hear that? um, it's cool. So I actually had her send me the clip. So I mean, I got the clip uh, buried in my DM somewhere. But
So
yeah, but
were y'all actually there for exactly 28 days?
yeah, yep, yep. We were there exactly 28 days, and there's a really cool because it was in post production for a year, right? As they're kind of working with Netflix. This is a huge deal to be associated with
Right, right.
Netflix. Not only is it hard to get on as a talent with them to a producer, I can imagine the difficulties and what they have to kind of go through and share a narrative. So the narrative or the idea was always the idea, but I think the narrative or how they wanted to get to the end changed. Um, Mind you, speaking just on behalf of Captain Grants, that was pretty much, I would say, the uh, the timeline, the linear timeline of what happened. Of course, it was cut up and the way you guys saw it, but yeah, that happened. What they did kind of cut, which was honestly, again, one of my favorite parts. Um, it was more investigator led. Sean was phenomenal, and he complemented a lot of the tools that we utilize, and his direction on some scenarios were phenomenal. And to kind of come together with that was really neat. So to work with Sean was a neat experience, especially with his expertise in demonology and what he does. So awesome work. But Sean is an investigator first and foremost, and he actually prides himself on that a lot. And I don't want to say one's more or less, but he's a damn good investigator too. So I got to give it to him there. Sometimes you run into psychics that just kind of hang on their thing, and they don't really want to mess with the other stuff. Not
Hmm.
Sean. So it was really neat to see him really kind of get his hands dirty in a sense. But anywho, it was a lot more investigator driven. And there was a moment where not the first week, but the second, third, and fourth week, we had an hour of actual internet. We weren't able to touch the computer, but we video conference the state historian, and we just fed him data that we found, and he would say if we're right or wrong, or if we're on a path, or if we're totally in left field. We were never off path, and he was so surprised that we're getting this data and getting these names that we shouldn't have gotten, and in the area, and we put it together through a historian, through data, through duplication, through some really awesome moments. A lot less drama, but when the drama hit, it was intense, and it was a lot of teamwork. Um, and that's a story that re- release the Snyder Cut. No, no,
That's what I like about going to a place kind of completely cold, not knowing anything, is
yeah,
being
we
able to
knew we knew
piece
nothing.
things together. I mean, I'll
Right.
get a little bit of info, basically, where the areas you get the most experiences at or whatever,
Right.
that kind of thing. But real quick, we went to a house and we were doing this investigation. The psychic that works with us, she had kind of pulled us all in a room and we were sitting around in a circle in the dark, and she had me set up the EVPs and all that kind of stuff. So I got the digital recorder going, and she starts kind of going into her trance or whatever you call it. And she asked the lady, or she started telling the lady that lived there about, she was getting this energy of an aunt. This aunt had been kind of excommunicated from the family, had been kind of a partier, had a child, and the child died, and that was part of the energy that was at that house. Well, the lady comes out and says, "No, there's nothing like that in our family." And of course, in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh, well, see, I knew all this psychic stuff was a bunch of baloney." Until about 2 days later, when the lady called me up and said, "I talked to my mom, and she told me about a sister that I never knew existed because she ran around and, did a lot of unsavory things. And, she had had a kid out of wedlock, and the family didn't want
Right.
to have anything to do with her. And out of negligence, the kid died. And I was blown away. We got all that
Wow.
info, and this lady didn't even know it. You
Yeah.
don't just pull that off the top of your head.
Yeah. No, there's some, I mean, I think everyone, honestly, if they wholeheartedly mean the practice and they're digging into that type of consciousness awareness, um, people people can get to a level that's astounding like that. But ran into, I think I ran into a lot of good people, few phenomenal psychics, and a lot of good ones. But there's, yeah, probably like that one, just it hit, and they interpret it correctly on what they're getting in their mind's eye, or however they get that data. And it's amazing. I didn't believe in of course I didn't believe in ghosts exist, so clearly I don't believe in psychic stuff exists right away. And you asked me earlier about my most crazy, astounding scenario. Real quick, I know I can't gotta say we gotta head out here soon, but my first and only time I saw a full apparition right in front of my face. It was I went to an old 1840 cemetery, and I went there with two people. One person was a psychic feeler. I was like, all right, whatever. And the other person was a minister who didn't believe in ghosts or spirits at all, and just wanted to kind of see what we do. So, all right, cool. So in this cemetery, I had my 35 millimeter camera, disposable camera, snapping away. They're doing their thing, and I see the psychic feeler kneeling down by his gravestone, and kneeling down by the minister lady. And I'm thinking they're maybe doing a ritual. And I hear like grass crackling, like footstep happening over, behind me. So I smack my chin over my left shoulder uh, to see the minister there. So then I'm like, who's that? And another body next to this the psychic feeler. So I start weighting myself forward, right? And I'm looking at and I'm investigating. I'm not in just lollygagging. So I had even a pen and paper, but I was looking at the moon. I was looking at shadows, and it was kind of in a more cleared opening of the cemetery. And and like it's like a 3D shadow. And that's kind of as I was approaching, it's like, how is this? Like, is it a bush? Like, what's going on here? I get about 10 yards in front of it, and it looked like a glass mold, or shaped mold of a fisherman body with moving black smoke in it, almost like a Disney stage prop.
Oh, wow.
And it was wild, and I froze from the waist down, so not badass at all. If it was going to kill us, I'd be dead. And I threw my arm out over my left side to stop the minister from going any further. And the psychic feeler, he's kind of looking off the side because he's just feeling with his hands, right? He's feeling up this dude's leg as I'm saying it, and he goes, "Aaron, there's something in front of me." I go, "Dude, he's right in front of you." Exact words. And I'm thinking in my head two thoughts. Um, Monsters exist, and Aaron, this is your fault. You were chasing them. Because at this point, I was still kind of on the skeptical side. I was thinking about walking out of the filters. It just seemed to be too difficult. It was too many values, too many sensitivities. So as I said, "Dude, he's right in front of you." Its head looked up at me, had a beard and everything, and it moved like a flip book animation. And it demanifest. I saw it demanifest. It looked like a computer glitch slash fade combo. Foreground, background were perfectly fine, but it gone, almost like the Leafs blue type scenario. But
Jeez.
at the same exact time, the psychic filler and I said, "He's gone." um, Minister, she actually verbalized something she saw in this whole midst. She asked what we were talking about. Were we talking about the giant floating cloud? So she saw a giant floating cloud. Probably resembles more demonic scenarios because that's what her culture would rationalize. Mine would
Right.
probably see something because I was just looking for ghosts, and he was a psychic feeler, so he would probably most likely feel because that was his practice. It's all about that consciousness scenario. So not kinetic, not density, but more well, ether. So anyway, she left foot in front of a foot reaction, exiting said cemetery, and heard later she stopped her ministry. I think they call that enlightenment. But I actually was going to put myself in a home the next day. Like I had the phone number in front of me because I don't know why my head exploded. Basically, I could not rationalize what the hell I just saw.
Wow.
Made no sense. Made no sense. And even to this day, it kind of gives me chills just thinking about it. But before I hit the send button on my Nokia, whatever, I uh, decided to do investigative work, right? So I went to the library, and I looked up any local lore and anything, any hauntings or something like that. And supposedly, father and son haunt this location, the first one to be buried in a boating accident. Historical data does state fisherman and son, first to be buried, boating accident. So I went there in daytime, and that the tombstone that the entity was standing by said, "Here lies father and son." So
Whoa. Oh,
yeah,
that's nuts, man.
yeah, that was the perfect storm. And that literally propelled me to stay in the field. I've never seen anything since, but I didn't need to because I saw the Holy Grail. So now I'm just trying to figure out what happened and how to duplicate that. It's not density. I went wrong for like 10 years. It's not kinetic. The behaviors are definitely not there for kinetic. It definitely tends to be more consciousness, and that's where I'm at now. So it's just a little bit of a struggle, but I'll get there.
Mhm. And I know you don't have a whole lot of time left, and there's a few things I wanted to mention before we cut
Okay.
this off. And man, I feel like we could have another show.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I would
Come
love for
on.
you to come back. And you were telling me before we started you're a motivational speaker, so I want to get you on my other show.
Cool. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. I
And
love to put in motivational scenarios, and everything that I do because we all got to move forward, right? And
yeah,
despite whatever happens, we cannot go back. That's why I don't really like the throwback Thursday things people put on social media. Like, oh, I wish I can go back. No, don't wish. Do it again. Don't like.
right.
Come on, you can't. You can't wish. You can only move forward.
Well, there's more to folks like you than just what they see on television, and
Yeah.
I like to bring that out in people. But
Thank you.
you were mentioning about your rings. I'll give
Yeah.
you a little plug there. Tell us
Ah,
about that.
cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So,
Of
so
course.
actually, this ring, I don't know if I don't want to go too blur, but I smashed pendant in this one. It was a St. Michael pendant, blessed metal that Sean actually gave me when filming. It's tungsten, high quality metal, and I put kind of a blue coloring around it, and it glows bright green, and it has some meteorite rock in there because it's out of this world, right? Um,
Mhm.
this ring would probably cost someone $600 if they go online and have someone else do it. And mind you, I had to go someone else to cut the metal. So I mean, I don't got all like that tool, but I can make these rings that typically go, $400, $450, and I do a video call with whoever purchases it when it's their time. They paid in their time to get it made, a limited amount, and really is to supplement my bills as I now hustle and focus on getting set up to uh, research and push the research. I mean, it's always what we've been wanting to do, and I'm thankful the show gave me that exposure. As I said, so many moments that this hobby I picked up in 2020 when the world went crazy. It takes a lot to make these, so that's why I never came out before. But now I got the attention, and people find these type of rings really cool, and they are. I bought four of them for $400 and gave them out to friends. Kept one. They glow. They glow really bright in the dark. I'm a ghost hunter. I'm in the dark a lot. Even when you go in a movie theater, like from a sunny day and you walk in a movie theater, everyone sees your hand like just light ricocheting off your shirt. But it's cool. Like I don't know, I'm a nerd, but it's also safety. You know, head count over here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. So,
Yeah.
do you have a website where people can go
I
to?
It's actually on my social media. I'm gonna set something up. I do have a website. By Friday it should be up. AaronGThompson.com. So it's actually out now, but it's like the free Wix. I'm gonna get that branded here soon. Thanks to you guys and people buying rings, allowing me to really do this. So thank you again so much. And yeah, if you go to any of my social spaces, just send me a DM. I will reach out to you and say, hey, got you on the queue. I'll reach back out when when it's kind of up to do that. And I don't take money until I'm ready to get the materials necessary if I need any. And start making your ring. And it's only going to be focused on a small amount of rings each week. I'm not wanting to make this my job. This is a moment why I push other avenues and again hopefully push the research. So we're helping each other out.
When your website comes out, send me the link. I
Yeah,
want to make sure it gets in the description of the show, and
cool,
also I can share it out on our social media.
cool.
And,
Thank you.
so,
Yeah.
anything else you got going on besides that?
Oh, you gonna follow me on at Tisme Aaron G spelled Gee. On pretty much all social spaces and Patreon. I'm gonna blow up here soon. I'm really looking forward to Patreon. So I'm gonna do something different with that space. I feel than other folks have done in the past. Because it's not about give. It's about provide support and then me giving back. And there's some avenues where hell, I could probably do free rings, monthly. There we go. But there's also other stuff. There's some real cool ideas I have where I put some of the money, maybe in a stock of some sort and kind of watch it grow, and then we all enjoy the spoils of that in some aspect. I got some ideas around that, but yeah, just got to keep moving forward, and hopefully I provide value to you folks because you guys definitely provide value to me. And despite anything, I've got things to do in this field, so yeah.
Well, I wish the best for you. You're a great personality, and you've been great to talk to. Thank you again for being on the show and sharing your time with me. And I also want to thank all of you out there. If you are new to the channel, I appreciate you stopping by. Please come back and hit that subscribe button. And for my regulars, it's because of y'all I get to do this. So until the next one, everyone, as always, please take care, be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
Poor boy.